Hi, I'm Dr. Neil Marinello, and I've been asked some questions about John Hinckley, and I'd like to take the next few minutes just to talk about my reaction and what I believe would be the right answers to those questions. First questions, are we safe now that John Hinckley has been released? For those of you that don't know, he's the man who shot the president and caused the damage to, what's his name, Mr. Brady. So are we safe? The answer is yes, I believe we are safe. I don't think this man represents a danger to anybody at this point. And some people may be very surprised by the fact that I believe that, that soon after he committed the crime, from the perspective of how dangerous is he to other people, there were things that could have been done that would have taken away the danger he represented to other people. Now, we're talking about a paranoid disorder, and it's often called paranoid schizophrenic disorder. But the reality is that there's really only one treatment for paranoids, and that is a shot of Haldol or Prolixin. There may be more recent shots, but these are shots which work for periods of 3 to 4 weeks at a time. Now, you can't have these people take medication unless someone is giving them the medication and making sure they swallow it, because one way or another, they're always going to decide the medication is poisoning them. So they will stop taking it. So the reality is he would need to be institutionalized, and he would need to be force-fed medication or receive the shot. If he were out of the institution, which obviously wasn't going to happen after he shot the president, these shots could probably have taken control of him. I have worked with people who have extreme difficulties in this area. We're talking about the tangential reality that I referred to in the last podcast that I believe causes the violence that happens in schools and that happened with Hinckley. The person creates their own world, lives in it, and logically believes that the world that they're creating is true. Some people saw the movie A Beautiful Mind. That man was also paranoid, while at the same time being a genius, but this tangential reality created all kinds of things. By the way, in my experience, paranoids are not visually hallucinating anywhere near as much as they auditorially hallucinate, but Ron Howard needed to turn it into a visual hallucination in order to make that movie work. So are we safe? Now, yes, I believe he would have been safe with the proper treatment had he been given almost soon after the actual shooting of the president. And at the same time, it could have perhaps been avoided had he been receiving the right mental health treatment before that. This does not, it obviously avoids the issue that I'll get into in a minute of the need for the society to exact its pound of flesh or some sort of retribution for the horrible crime that this man committed. The second question was, now we're getting into the overlap. We're getting into the overlap of the punishment criminal justice system and the mental health system. When a person is found not responsible for his crime because of the fact that he really believed something to be true that wasn't true, and he was unable to understand the difference between right and wrong. When that is the case, there is this way in which they can get off on the basis of insanity. And there's a thing called the McLaughlin rule, which is the case. It applies to today because the question that comes up is, does Trump really believe that he won the election? If he does, he's crazy, because everybody else is saying he didn't. But if he really believes it, then he has an actual insanity defense. And whether it'll ever get to that point, I don't know. There's so much political crap going on about this at this point that I'd rather not talk about it. But the reality of it is that if you look at the insanity, is he mad or is he bad concept, The truth is that nearly always the answer is the person has developed a tangential reality. They believe something to be true that isn't true, and they are acting on it. Now, these medications, which are used in the mental health field, can actually prevent the inappropriate behavior from happening. I had a client who really was constantly thinking about climbing to the highest tower, taking a gun and shooting people indiscriminately. And he had a whole system that he had developed about that. I would get together with him once every 3 weeks. We would play pool. And after we played pool, we would go to the hospital, and I'd be talking to him while the nurse would lower his trousers and give him the shot of Prolixin. That was enough to keep him from climbing the tower and shooting people. The actual prevention of the inappropriate and destructive and even murderous behaviors, the actual prevention of that can be done with the right medications used at the right times. And there may be even better and more recent medications. The problem, again, with these people, though, is that they will not take them by themselves. They always decide, because of the change in their states of mind at any given moment, they always decide that the pill is what's causing the problem. Now we get into the next problem, which is basically punishment versus rehabilitation. And I see this more as a punishment versus discipline issue. In the criminal justice system, has now been taken over to a great degree by private companies, which are obviously more interested in making money than they are in anything else. So they want to keep themselves going, and whether it makes sense to keep people in jail or release them is not their first priority. Their first priority is how much money are they getting. That's true across the board in a capitalist system, and I'm in favor of a capitalist system just because all the others are worse. And that doesn't change the fact that there are all kinds of problems with it. And the difference, remember, between punishment and discipline is, if you think of it from the point of view of there really are no grown-ups, and we're talking about misbehaving children. When a child is sent to his room and what the child is saying to himself is, that no good bastard, I'll get back at him or her, that is punishment, and it doesn't work. It makes it more likely that retribution on the part of the child will occur, and so there is likely to be what's called recidivism. On the other hand, discipline is when the child goes to his room saying, boy, I don't want to do that again. And often the key to discipline is the child understanding that it will be embarrassing, shaming, a bad thing if they continue with that behavior, because they are understood and the reasons for their behavior are understood. That's more in the mental health field or the mental illness fields than it is otherwise. But to the question of should Hinckley have been released, the answer is, from a society point of view, there are some crimes which are so bad that maybe the person needs to be locked up for the rest of their lives. From the mental health point of view, there are plenty of ways of making sure the person doesn't commit the crime again. That's all I have to say about that, and I'll end this podcast.